Well, let's go into game 2 and see how this one will play out, because NRG will be looking for their first 2-0 sweep, and I'm pretty sure the fans at home will be excited about some free FP, hopefully, because that's what they expected out of NRG, and they've not been getting it just lately.
There's a lot of fans rooting for NRG to be able to find this 2-0 clean sweep thus far. It was a little bit sloppy from them to start things off in terms of, you know, not really forcing the goal fury quite yet, instead of being very slow and steady. No kills either in the beginning of the game for them too much, just instead electing to go for these invades. But this time around, depending on their composition, yet again, taking away the Kumbhakarna and the Ratatasker.
This time, though, Zeus will be banned by Elevate. That's the only real change from the picks and bans from last time so far. NRG drafted Sylvanus first pick last time round. We'll see if they go for it again. I don't think there's a reason not to at this stage.
Normally, a lot of Sylvanuses get paired up with Zeuses, but you don't necessarily need the Zeus to make the Sylvanus impactful. You're basically trying to get control in that dual lane. We saw in the beginning, both iRaffer and emilitoo had a good advantage in terms of out-clearing Dardez and Jermain, but their aggression towards the purple buff of Elevate is what allowed that rotation from BlizzardFX and Faeles to really take advantage and shift back the advantage for Elevate.
But an Artemis first pick. That's
it's a little early.
It is a little early. Are they so worried about Sylvanus, Artemis, and lane together? I guess root into trap is a really nice little combo for free damage.
It's all mind games.
I guess he's just trying to take it away from emilitoo.
That's what it is.
But
he's been
playing everything.
He's been playing it so often. Right now, Elevate just wants to see what is going to be on the table for emilitoo without this Artemis. A lot of burst damage so far with this Poseidon Whirlpool Kraken. I wouldn't be surprised if the goal from Elevate is trying to find ways to shut down iRaffer's rotations.
Well, Anhur, fantastic against Artemis on paper, just because of the way he performs overall. He's got a nice answer to a lot of gods and great boxing potential early. The Poseidon pickup I do like against Sylvanus as well. That should be pretty strong. And now add Batz to the mix. A couple of beads burners there, so you got a choice in the early game of which relic do you get. Do you get Aegis to prevent the Kraken, or do you get beads to prevent the Fear No Evil? Because you're going to eat one.
You got to mix things up if you're at the side of Elevate, making sure that you keep NRG guessing with the rotation coming out of Faeles. He needs to be more impactful than adapting. That last game, adapting was all over the place. Aggressive in the solo lane, counter-aggressive in the dual lane, making sure emilitoo wouldn't fall too far behind. And I like both offensive and defensive option for emilitoo here. Anhur has the whole kit behind him to be able to play both sides.
Well, Hercules going to be locked in for Elevate there for MoGoW in the solo lane, more than likely. Over to NRG, I wouldn't be surprised by Circuit again here, just because of that Hercules draft as well. I could see them maybe not go for it because they're not some sustain, but Hercules is great, you know, gets shut down by the true damage of not healing.
The problem with going Circuit here is you're having to worry about Poseidon's Whirlpool on the cripple. That's really obnoxious, especially the Fear No Evil disruption. So instead, playing it super safe, not having to commit as a Thor, you can easily look for the poke with a stun, the hammer follow-up, as well as Yammyn's unstable vortex.
Elevate needed one more pick here, and it's the mid lane they're really after. Not mid lane, I should say, support they're really after. Kumbhakarna will be the choice for Dardez, one of the classics that he likes to go to. And that's another one that's pretty good with an Artemis. There's a lot of combinations Kumbhakarna is good with. He can set up nicely for the Kraken here. He can also set up nicely with a trap from Artemis underneath on the takeoff.
That's true.
Drop the trap, they're pinned on place when they land, more damage.
Double roots coming out of Elevate. There's a great setup here, and I'm still expecting a lot of pressure here onto iRaffer. Sylvanus not being known to actually escape from a lot of sticky situations up until a lot of defensive items come online. And with the base damage from both Kumbhakarna and Poseidon at level 5, that's going to be problematic if iRaffer is left alone.
Well, we saw the last game that Elevate and NRG's dual lane both chose to trade with each other early on. This time around, we may see the same sort of thing again. We'll see if the Bruised Brothers of Elevate can actually do it again and find another pick on emilitoo early. This time, though, it's Anhur as well as Sylvanus, which is very similar to that, but at the same time, a little bit more powerful.
Anhur definitely has the better boxing potential early on because it's not RNG-based compared to Jermain's Artemis. You're getting 5% crit per stack up to 3 stacks on the side of Artemis, whereas emilitoo, as long as he gets the one hit, he's then going to shred 20 physical protections.
But they missed everything.
Nice
they missed both abilities on Dardez there, and that's going to allow Dardez to put some extra added pressure on with the poke damage from Jermain too. Good early start from Elevate, recognizing where they were, looking to turn it around again with another route, but Dardez going to eat most of that. That was a crit, I believe, onto Jermain there. It looked like he was the amount of chunk he took. The damage is good to slow him down again, but the minion wave comes into play, as well as the meditate from iRaffer, and Dardez does it too.
The double meditate between these supports. A lot of action in the dual lane right off the bat. No real kills, but emilitoo is in a bad spot because he doesn't have any consumables. He went for the Death Toll short bow start, and that's going to be problematic in the rest of the laning phase
on the right-hand side. Speed buff being looked to be invaded by NRG there, but the response from Elevate is good to look to take it themselves. Now we're going to see a contest over this as the speed buff is relatively healthy right now. No solo they can really get involved right now with the new minion wave coming in, and in the end, NRG have to reset back towards mid, but that means they get an advantage.
This is all a bait because they want to get the mid lane pressure. They're going to be able to bait out Faeles and BlizzardFX to defend their own speed buff, and by pushing the mid wave over Elevate, then they can look for the invade as well. BlizzardFX has to stay in lane.
Look what Faeles did though. He pushed out solo lane to allow MoGoW to rotate to the speed as well now. Meanwhile, Raph on the left-hand side, looking to defend his jungle, is being pressured out. The body blocks have been pretty good so far from Elevate. Not going to have to kill him just yet. Remember, he's got no meditate this time. Is Jermain going to be able to find the damage? Suppress the insolent, maybe? Not
Dardez stole the last hit out of his Hunter. That's not something you normally want to do. The root was guaranteed though, but now the rotation from NRG is level 3 onto adapting, as well as Yammyn. Jermain, he's wanting to get onto Yammyn. Going to get hit by that unstable vortex, but too much separation between mid and jungler of NRG.
Well, all this pressure on to the left-hand side allowed adapting to take away the speed buff of Elevate, but meanwhile, NRG managed to defend their own speed buff thanks to Dimi's rotation out of the solo lane. Adapt's going to be very happy about that. There'll be no Twitch video today.
Elevate, unfortunately, didn't put pressure in the solo lane before looking for that invade. They could have potentially looked for a 3-on-1 invade on the speed buff. Even rotating is iRaffer picking up that speed buff with adapting, have his speed buff of his own from the invade. Still able to be very aggressive here, looking for the back left Harpy, sitting at level 4 right now.
And back Harpy's with a lot more experience than the mid Harpies these days as well. So it makes it more rewarding to go into the enemy jungle and steal the back Harpies, but obviously it's much more risky to be that deep in enemy territory. But you're Thor, so you're not too bad, and you've got a Janus in your team, so it does make a lot of sense.
The back Harpies respawn a little bit quicker than those mid Harpies, so you're getting more experience per minute. As long as you're able to strip that away, you're going to be able to separate your gap a little bit between Faeles here playing the Hanbats. So whoever hits level 5 first between these two junglers is the key to the successful ganks. They're going to be able to try to look for pressure onto the mid lane here, because BlizzardFX doesn't really have a good way of escaping from danger.
Very similar situation to game 1 so far. First blood to Elevate, yes, but NRG are doing a little bit better in terms of farm and in terms of gold as well. As you can see, even though first blood went the way of Elevate, it's ever so slightly NRG in the lead.
Elevate, though, doing a good job in terms of not letting their whole jungle get stripped away compared to the last game. It's still a slow and steady race for NRG, but we see adapting already trying for a left-hand gank. This is not something that he's been doing in terms of game number 1. He's been heavily prioritizing the farm. Just now hitting level 5 is Faeles.
Oracle is going to go with Elevate here, helps out the duo lane a little bit more in terms of experience, but secures the gold fury for the time being. No need to ward that as well, which saves 50 gold as well, which isn't all doom and gloom.
Just making sure they also spot out the rotation from adapting. Next time around, he decides to go into the sky. Normally, Thors will like to position themselves right at that gold fury pit to be able to put a decision between themselves whether they go for the dual lane or the mid lane.
Adapting catches Faeles, and Faeles doesn't know about it, but they don't go for the all-in play against him there. Adapting doesn't have the ultimate, but he will get some nice poke off with Dimi combining over the wall for the time being. Both junglers present in the solo lane, and so I don't think we'll see too much fighting for now as the minions have been cleared.
And with Thor having boots too, we only see boots, boots 2 also on the side of Faeles. They could have potentially looked to take that fight with that long-range poke. Adapting can consistently set up his own hammer as well as the jingle bang coming out of Dimi, but grabbing the Fire Giant Elementals, diving in is Dimi. BlizzardFX taking a lot of damage already, and Dimi wants to go in.
Dimi wants to go deep here, changes his mind at how far away Blizzard is now, resets towards the speed buff and the support of his team. Nice wall from Adapting as the unstable vortex over the wall will secure the buff for Adapting and immediately dip out as well. NRG will disengage with what they came for, which was the speed buff.
Didn't even have to use the beads or the ultimate to escape. Found the speed buff, ran away safely, not even taking a portal there. Great ultimate use from Yammyn to be able to allow his team to get in position for that speed buff invade. And Yammyn's unstable vortex through the wall was, the pull into the tower, the knockup. Dardez taking a lot of damage.
Not enough to kill him though, but this guy's Adapting right now, looking to crash down. He's on Blizzard in the mid lane, looking to pick him up. The Kraken comes out, but Adapting will beads it to allow him to continue the chase and not be slowed down. Meanwhile, Faeles and emilitoo, you can tell Jermain is actually rotating on that Artemis as well, but he's not going to be able to get involved enough in quick in time.
The fact that Adapting didn't need to use his hammer to kill BlizzardFX allowed him to get back into safety. Having to use the beads against the Kraken makes him so vulnerable against Faeles' Fear No Evil, but making sure that he escaped into the safety of Raffer's Wisps and the Meditation, topping him off. He also had a little bit of support there from his mid laner.
It was a bit of a good misdirection from NRG in that fight, though, because he looked like there was a lot of focus onto Dardez. It was like a magician's. They were like, hey, look over here, and meanwhile over here, we're killing you. And that's exactly what happened to Blizzard in the mid lane. Adapting recognized the situation. I thought he was going to go on Dardez in all honesty.
I thought so too, but honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea to always switch targets away from Dardez. Even if you do find the kill onto him, you have to kill him twice. You have to get 8 in hands to be able to lock down that kill. Faeles is going to be able to teleport to that monkey, and that was a great use of Adapting to wait for the teleport before actually
but emilitoo's low on mana here, forced to beads early on. His mana is so low as the ball comes into play. That's going to hit Raffer too. Raffer gets rooted straight after by Dardez, and the body blocks again. Don't know what it is with the body blocks against Raffer today, but Elevate keep finding them.
Yammyn, unfortunately, his ultimate was not in time to be able to save those two in the dual lane. But look at this, Elevate. They're not going to take things slow this time around, not for these 2 kills. They're going to force the Gold Fury.
But can they do it in time? Jermain's taking a lot more damage than he would like from that. He's forced to fall back, and I think they realized they're too squishy right now with not a lot of sustain. Dardez wasn't there to tank it up for them. And even now, at 6.5 minutes in, you're not going to be that tanky overall. Blizzard in trouble.
Dimi, it made the rotation. That's why we saw the disengage coming out of Elevate. On top of that, the Oracle spawning was so unfortunate for Elevate, just taking more damage than they really needed to. This is the point in the game where you're just taking so much damage from that Gold Fury, let alone those Oracles, having to disengage from it without any sort of lifesteal from Jermain. You can't really stick on the Gold Fury for too long.
Another threat about to come online now for NRG is the Doom Orb on Yammyn, on that Janus as well. Mana regeneration will allow him to stay in lane a lot longer now, but what it will also do, it will allow him to stack extra damage and get a power spike a little bit earlier than you'd expect.
I'm not surprised at the fact that Yammyn has been going for this kind of a very aggressive glass cannon build with the Doom Orb. This is something that NRG really thrive off of, just leaning on the damage that Yammyn can provide. And what better way than doing so with the Doom Orb? Having the Janus is so safe, let alone with the beasts that constantly just not getting pressure because everyone else from NRG is making such a havoc in the front line.
When you talk about pressure, you could see NRG were trying to collapse into the speed buff there, but they were a little bit too late as Elevate had 4 members, but MoGoW just invested a lot in the jungle here, gets his heal off early, and there's the regen from that, but he may still be in trouble here if they've got any further follow-up. Sadly, not the case, and in comes Faeles.
Ooh, there was space and time almost on the mark onto MoGoW. Raffer trying to find the pull, but he's in an awkward position, too close to the tier 1 tower, but nobody really responding from Elevate to find Dardez.
Adapting's wall's going to help out Raffer for a second, but the Kraken does some decent damage, but not enough. Raffer finally gets picked up by MoGoW, who waited patiently on the back lines there. He was low on health, but he knew that if he went in too deep, he'd get picked off. A free kill, the way of Elevate.
I love the fact that MoGoW didn't back there, min-maxing his potential in that encounter. Despite having teleport, he could have easily just been back to the fight whenever he really wanted to, but now utilizing that teleport, going to the right side mid Harpies, looks like the rest of Elevate, they want to start putting pressure in the mid lane, but getting spotted out by that ward, a lot of damage from Yammyn yet again with that Doom Orb.
And that teleport over from MoGoW, it was more Elevate looking for more kills. There was no real objectives left on that side. Maybe they wanted the speed, but Adapting managed to pick that up for himself in time. The Gold Fury is still available for both teams right now, but neither seem confident enough to try and start it.
It just seems that Elevate never have the opportunity to do so because the Kraken is consistently on cooldown, having to be used defensively in the mid lane earlier on, but to now aggressively in that solo lane. We're seeing BlizzardFX do a little bit of damage right now. Still struggling a little bit. Similar story to his raw performance in the game number 1.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up the Ryan Harpies with the help of Adapting here as the final elementals are here being contested between MoGoW as well. They've gone down for the time being. That'll be the last spawn of those, as the Portal Demon will be the next in line to spawn on the right.
Great stun out of Adapting during the pull from MoGoW. A slight little mechanic trick you can do against that pull. If you can ever put up a wall during the pull, it's going to stop the mobility of you getting pulled closer to the Hercules, which interrupts his potential to use that driving strike to push you even further into danger.
Oracle's going to go the way of Elevate there. Yammyn just a little bit too late to the party to try and contest and strip at least one of those away. Wall coverage has been pretty heavy so far as Faeles. He's on this left-hand side. I'm not sure if he's on a ward right now, but emilitoo seems to have an understanding. Yeah, he is stood on a ward there. I wasn't sure if he was, but definitely is.
Great adaptations by emilitoo. He recognizes the fact that game number 1 and 2, he was kind of the focal point out of Elevate in the earlier stages of the game, so he's not going to let that go through for the second time. Solo lane, a little bit of poke here from Dimi, sitting at level 12. Neither of the solo laners having that breastplate of valor quite finished adapting, going into the sky. He wants to find MoGoW, trying to save Dimi.
Well, Dimi's got into the cloud right now, and now he's looking to dunk down, but no minions here, so he's got to tank it up. But a nice clean-up crew from the pair of the MoGoW. I guess just didn't expect Thor to be coming in there. He was in a great position, but you've always got to look around and be like, hang on a second, where's Thor? Oh no.
No vision from Elevate around that Fire Giant side. You have to respect the potential gank. Even in the solo lane, you know, you might be a little bit tanky in the earlier stages, you know, being Hercules, being very naturally tanky, but that's a Thor global with a Wukong who has a lot of base damage with that Tiger stun, being able to continue the setup from the Thor Berserker Barrage. Obviously, MoGoW wants to stop that with a Driving Strike, but getting continuously stunned with the Anvil of Dawn, with the Tectonic Rift, with the Wukong Tiger stun. The great synergy from NRG at its finest display yet again.
Let's go to the graphs and just see the golden experience difference, because I want to show you the lead that NRG have developed here. Even though they are losing in terms of kills, and these fights overall are not going in their favor, they are still, once again, finding objectives. And talking about objectives, they're starting the Gold Fury right now.
Adapting, zoning out Jermain on the backhand side. The Desert Fury is coming out. They really want to confirm this nice stun onto Jermain, and NRG secure their gold.
Boar hits Dimi, but the boar doesn't follow up anywhere else. Adapting will draw attention from Elevate into the jungle towards mid lane and allow NRG just to fall back with a free win and a nice gold lead of now 2.9k.
Elevate just dropping the ball yet again, not really being able to contest this objective, and this was a lot earlier than the first time around that NRG started the gold field compared to game number 1. Now left-hand side, emilitoo.
No ball for Jermain this time round as well. Surprised emilitoo backed up. If he would have known that, I think he would have continued that trade.
But there was also no Desert Fury on the side of emilitoo, as well as no through space and time from Yammyn, as he's just now come off of cooldown.
Did you see that reaction from emilitoo there? He threw the in-hand. He realized he was out of position on the auto attack, and then immediately Impale going, oh no, I'm in trouble.
Oh, iRaffer though, he's trying to set up adapting on the top-hand side. Dardez getting a little bit of damage onto emilitoo, but the action is actually in the tier 2 tower side. A lot of damage here onto Jermain.
In trouble. The beats are forced as well. The Fear No Evil's pretty good, but Adapts is going to return damage back with the Berserker Barrage to Faeles. Dardez did good work to keep emilitoo busy and out of that fight though. So even though, you know, the support and Hunter were there, I'm kind of glad the Hunter wasn't there, because that could have been spelled doom for some of Elevate's members.
But at the same time, Dardez can provide a lot of control and peels on the side of the Elevate, because obviously his Yawn can stop the Berserker Barrage coming out of Adapting that could force maybe an early purification beads that Adapting wouldn't normally like to do, and therefore he wouldn't be able to really dive the backline, because then that would have set up Faeles' ultimate.
A little bit early with the unstable Vortex there from Yammyn, not expecting the portal to work. Boulder's a little bit late as well from MoGoW, so Dimi will get away scot-free with the blue buff intact, exactly what he wanted to come for.
Finding the Ox yet away. The Oracles have been taken by NRG, not able to contest it. Dardez going to get stunned out. emilitoo trying to find the jump. And now Jermain, though, trying to wrap around beneath iRaffer. There is a lot of mid-control from Elevate being able to push that way, but with Yammyn and Adapting right there, they're not going to push that tower. They're not going to really look for the rotations on the left. They're still slowly looking for more farm, just grabbing their back left Harpies.
Yep, grab the back left Harpies, get a little bit more farm into the box too. The right-hand tier 1 falls the way of Dimi, and now he pushes on to the tier 2 as well. Level 14 over level 12, and most of this lead, it doesn't really come from that one Gold Fury. It's more down to controlling the enemy jungle, more speed and blue invade.
Similar story for Dimi finding this 2-level advantage over MoGoW, but different method of use from NRG to do so, because Adapting hasn't really been leaning onto Dimi's lane that much. It was just more the fact that MoGoW hasn't been able to make the rotations in these team fights the same way that Dimi has, and this is why he's struggling a little bit behind now. And with the Breastplate of Valor and the Gladiator Shield for Dimi, he has a big power spike to be able to continue this pressure. He needs to sit in that the solo lane to be able to force MoGoW to stay there and look to out-rotate this Hercules. The team fight relics definitely favoring Dimi here with the Shell versus the Undo relic for MoGoW.
We can see iRaffer just zoning Faeles away from the speed buff, but MoGoW's going to rotate in as well. Yammyn being pressured by Dardez at the same time, but Faeles is in a lot of trouble there. The amount of burst damage Dimi and iRaffer can put out is more than expected, and now Adapting going to get an opportunity to go aggressive on Dardez, but instead he eats a Kraken.
Through space and time being used, connect onto BlizzardFX. This is going to trigger Dimi to dive that backline with Yammyn's unstable vortex, and now everybody from NRG are going to disengage as the rotation from Jermain is going to scare them away. 2-0 for NRG, and this is going to allow them to get this portal demon for free.
Dimi's having such a good game right now, Toli. I mean, game 1 he was fantastic with the rotations and teleports, but then again in game 2, just look at what he's doing with the small lead he's created for himself in the solo lane. Invading the jungle, hitting the abilities when they're needed most, and helping to bring down the likes of Faeles and then chase onto Blizzard as well.
The fact that Dimi was also able to make sure he secured the speed buff around level 3 or level 4 is what allowed him to still get a little bit of a lead in that laning phase and not allow Faeles or MoGoW to really snowball. No blue buffs were stripped away from him on Dimi's side, and not to mention there's a lot of setup here on the side of NRG. Adapting and iRaffer have a lot of control, and this is what is going to allow Dimi to truly shine.
Dardez in a bit of a trouble here in the mid lane, has no ultimate to escape that, especially after using the full combo pretty much, and he has to be whittled down to force back to base for the time being. And that's a man advantage now for NRG in the mid lane, and immediately what do? They collapse and look to force the tier 1 down.
That's what you got to do. You have to use these timing windows, adapting, recognizing the tier 1 tower is going to fall in mid, going to teleport over through his hammer, through the wall on the left. emilitoo spotting out Jermain, just zoning him out. The tower is going to eat up a minion wave, and because of that, we see Jermain thinking about trying to get that farm, but he doesn't want to put himself out of position. Adapting can easily dive that with Dimi under the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, with no control in the jungle there, they can't really walk forward until more of them turn up, and they're worried about being wrapped around on the back. Instead, it results in NRG getting a free tier 1 tower on the left-hand side as well. The coffers of NRG grow larger.
16.5 minutes, 6,000 goal lead with Golfier respawning right at this point in time. BlizzardFX is really out of position here to be able to contest this with his Kraken, but NRG, they're not going to force the Golfier. They're very content with grabbing the Oracles now. Having the vision was going to buy them a little bit of time to position themselves with more sentry wards, to back to base, and then look to really control every little triangular point around this Golfury to bait Elevate in a position they're not ready for.
I'm looking at Blizzard on the side of Elevate. Obviously, he's new. He's a rookie in the league this year, his first year in the SPL, and he's had a pretty good performance so far until this set right now. Hold that thought. iRaffer's going to get an ult on MoGoW and Jermain, but Jermain responds with the boar as well. But Thor comes in with Adapting. Great response with the Kraken coming out. Adapting's one hit, but he'll get out too. But emilitoo will chase Faeles down. Looks for another one now onto Jermain as well. Great peel from MoGoW comes into play, but Dimi's there to pick up the pieces.
Dimi doing a great job diving the backline with emilitoo. MoGoW taking a lot of damage. Adapting is still here. He finds the stun. Dimi wants to be able to stun, but he's off the mark. Driving strike through the tier 2 tower. Yammyn finds the kill. We see Dardez making the rotation. Great knockup, but there's nobody else here from Elevate to take advantage.
Nice lead from emilitoo to avoid the groggy strike coming out from Dardez there. But NRG win that engagement. They've still got a Sylvanus with Wisps too, and a full minion wave means that that team fight, not only will it result in a nice win of kills, they get a tower and can even look to fall back to the Golfier if they choose.
Everything was just on point for NRG to win that team fight. We saw at the beginning, iRaffer found a triple knockup, and then through space and time, clipping MoGoW, Adapting, also hitting Jermain and MoGoW, allowing Dimi to go into the somersault cloud, diving that backline with emilitoo. It was just full onslaught from NRG, utilizing Yammyn's portals and threshold. Having the mobility was so crucial for NRG and Elevate. They were baited into a position, like I mentioned before, they weren't ready for it because BlizzardFX was rotating from the fountain.
And going back to BlizzardFX, I was going to say before the fight, I thought he performed very well so far in the Pro League in the games we've seen him in, but I think there's a bit of performance anxiety here, just coming into play a little bit. He is against the world champions, and he's so worried about being killed that he's not being as loose as he has played before and shown us. He's held the Kraken a lot longer than what I would have liked to have seen, maybe throw out a little bit more often. The Krakens he's done have been pretty solid, to say the least, but could we have seen it more in the early game with combinations from Faeles? Maybe. Is it just his fault? Not necessarily.
I think that the goal was to try to shut down iRaffer, but iRaffer was doing a good job making sure he wasn't in position to get Kraken because Adapting was in that front line. We saw when Dardez was getting focused around the right-hand side, then all the attention from Adapting was focused onto BlizzardFX. And I think after that first death of this Poseidon player, he had no sort of momentum moving forward.
A wall will come out from Adapting to slow down Blizzard.
Through space and time!
Save 185 health, and now through the portal they go. Adapting will pick up one. MoGoW now looking to get away, impaled by emilitoo into an awkward spot. MoGoW gets knocked up though, so he can't get away now. 2 kills for nothing. Nice and clean. Elevate in the duo lane will pick up a tier 1 tower, but they're going to lose a tier 2 tower in mid in trade.
And they don't have enough time to really go for this tier 2 2 in the Phoenix. The mid tier 2 tower of Elevate falls, but actually Faeles and Jermain are sticking around. They're going to sacrifice their mid Phoenix for this tier 2 tower.
No,
Hold that thought. We see Jermain back, and
in.
he's not taking any shots at this tier 2 tower.
Well, NRG may be biting off more than they can chew because Jermain did back. Faeles is still on the left, though. Recognizing Faeles is there and Dardez is in mid. They're going to get a left-hand Phoenix as well here. Mistakes by Elevate there. They had a decision to make. They were too late in the decision-making overall, and they get punished both ways.
One of the biggest mistakes that teams make in Smite is hesitation. Whether or not a play is correct, you have to be able to make the call and follow the call right away. Great beats from emilitoo, recognizing Dardez was about to blink ultimate. It's going to set up Jermain's ultimate as well, but Desert Fury giving him CC immunity as well as this Aegis Dardez. He still wants to try to find a kill, but like I mentioned before, emilitoo on this Anhur has that defensive kit.
Into this guy, looks for 3, finds 3 as well. Berserker Barrage going to force out beads on 2. Dardez can't find the Janus. Fails though, will pick up by emilitoo, who was still hanging around on the right-hand side for a free pick. 1 Fire Giant buff down. Elevate looking to still defend as Dimi will disengage. NRG happy to fall back now. They got what they came for. They did get picked on exit though.
It's not absolutely clean coming out of NRG, but like you mentioned, they got the 2 objectives that they really needed to. Dimi's going to get stunned out. Great peel from MoGoW. 4-level disadvantage here from this Hercules soul laner. Don't really want to chase this too far forward. Obviously still having a 5-on-4 on the side of Elevate, but having to deal with those Fire Giant minions in mid and left is not going to allow them to really overextend past their base. They're going to have to concede a lot of objectives.
I do want to go back to the reaction time NRG had in the mid lane there when Dardez initiated onto emilitoo and Yammyn. Instant beads coming out from emilitoo. Yammyn didn't panic when the Yawn hit either. He held his beads for when the boar came through, which was much more important to escape from, and they allowed it to turn it around quite nicely for themselves in the grand scheme of things and escape for now.
That mez duration from Dardez is just so long. It could also set up a lot of damage, not to mention all the further stunts and setups. Jermain can potentially find the root off of that Yawn, and that would be very problematic for anybody, especially in terms of Yammyn, because if you get root crippled on the ground there, you cannot take your own portal.
Well, tier 2 tower on the right falls down. That's all the tier 2 towers that Elevate had, and it's just 1 Phoenix remaining again. Tale of the same game as game 1 pretty much in terms of how this has gone. Elevate doing better in the battles early on, winning the fights, but they're not finding the experience and gold they need to continue to grow the lead.
No, unfortunately not. It's going to be more difficult now to grow their lead on the side of Elevate, having to deal with NRG still with 1 minute remaining on their Fire Giant, having to worry about defending the mid and the left-hand side from these Fire Minion waves. Also have to make sure that there's no shenanigans of the backdoor with potential Frenzied Ritual. That's a strategy that some teams could potentially look to exploit.
Does it look like NRG's got this one in the bag though? 2 Phoenixes down, 1 remaining now. Is this going to be their first 2-0, do you reckon?
I think that this is going to be their first 2-0 thus far in the SPL. It's going to give them a good amount of momentum also moving forward. Grabbing this 3 points would put them at 4 points.
Put them at 4 points for now, but there's a lot of teams that have games this weekend as well. They'll be looking to grow the lead over them, especially after NRG's performances thus far. Right-hand side, the only Phoenix left standing for NRG to look to assault. 4 members still with the Fire Giant. Not for very long, though. As you can see, it'll start to fall off them any second now.
About 40 seconds still remaining on that Fire Giant buff. They have about 2 more waves, this one and then the next, to be able to get this Phoenix on the right-hand side.
Look at the rituals there. Totally 3 flickering rituals and 1 frenzy as well, so they may just try to all in here and get this Phoenix down. But if they don't have to use it, they'll be very happy. But there, look at that. emilitoo disengaged as iRaffer popped his frenzy, but a miscommunication there, so not going to get as much use out of it as they can. But it still works out. You know, Elevate recognized the frenzy was online and immediately called it a day on defending that Phoenix.
Good timing, Elevate. They're really worried about these Fire Minions going into the sky. Nice blink, 4-man knockup with Jermain using the ultimate through space and time. It's going to be a full commit onto this Titan, but this Titan's not taking too much damage. iRaffer getting pulled back onto the fountain.
Not enough minions getting involved now, and he's allowing Elevate to defend here. iRaffer already dead, and now Elevate are pushing them out of their base as quick as they can. MoGoW just charging at them to make sure they disengage. Elevate find a moment of respite in this set. Game 2.
They had the Frenzied Ritual for the right side Phoenix, but they didn't have it for the Titan. Despite the Titan being at its most vulnerable point without any towers, any Phoenixes, the Fire Giant buff also fizzled away during the siege of that Titan. NRG not playing as calculated as they could have potentially liked to do. They're still going to be in a good position to close the game out with a 13,000 gold lead, not even 24 minutes into the game, now extending that to a little bit further, but They have to find a way to really close this one out because they don't want to give anything back to Elevate. The respawn timers from NRG are going to be very long if they decide to commit that hard.
Good news is iRaffer has already respawned as well, and the Fire Giant's about to respawn too, as well as respawns of the Phoenixes. Everything's respawning right now. But the Phoenixes respawning, they're only going to be at half health. They're going to be a little bit weaker than they were previously, so it is going to allow NRG just to whittle them down a little bit quicker this time round. But Adapting's more interested in the speed buff than the Fire Giant right this second.
There's some kind of emotional love connection between Adapting and the speed buff. It's a love-hate relationship between him and
every
the speed.
jungler has it. Just Adapting shows it more on the surface than most, I think, is the real key.
And now NRG, with this huge 13,000 goal lead, starting up the Fire Giant, their second one of the game. No contest from Elevate for good reasons, obviously. They don't want to make sure that if they die, that the game is basically over on the Fire Giant. If they die there, they're going to lose their Titan, but at least they can make one last stand potentially under their own Titan. We saw just how out of position all of NRG were, trying to force that Titan to go down with iRaffer blinking in, using that ultimate. It was a great setup, 4-man knockup, but he got pulled and pushed under that fountain.
The team weren't really ready to follow it up. It's very difficult to follow up onto a deep Sylvanus ultimate with the gods they have on paper. The only one that can really do it is Thor and Yammyn if he hits the space and time, but accuracy on space and time, a little bit difficult.
And not only that, using through space and time into the Titan room of Elevate, there's not too many walls to get closer and closer to be able to follow up from the Sylvanus ultimate, especially considering it was a little bit behind the Titan. So putting yourself in that position, not only is iRaffer in danger of getting pushed under the fountain, but so is the rest of his team.
Never mentioned this, but we do see as well that iRaffer did take the Ankh this game as well. The anti-heal item, that just is specifically built to deal with MoGoW if it became an issue going forward, reducing the amount of healing that comes out from the team. It will shut him down a little bit on the front side, but that's why we see him invest into the flickering ritual so he can get that combat blink online.
Especially considering he does have the undo relic in the skies. Adapting, wants to dive the backline through space. It's hot, takes out Jermain. Nowhere to go. MoGoW trying to escape under safety. Adapting, thinking about chasing that down. Mid Phoenix does fall. NRG looking to close this one out. Dardez trying to buy time, but he's going to get caught in the portal. Left side, Phoenix though still being pressured. They want to find the kill.
Yeah, just mainly push the minions in now. iRaffer's going to keep too busy as emilitoo and Dimi do the work they need to bring down the final Phoenix. And now the Titan under threat by fire minions pouring in the right-hand side. And that should be game right now. The final defense from Elevate is there, Kraken Inferno Evil, but it's not good enough. NRG will take set one of today 2-0.
Clean. Momentum. Energy. They have the 3 additional points. They're now sitting at 4. You know, they started off the split so far at 1 and 3. Now tied 3 and 3.
Well, let's head over to Taco to break down exactly how that game went.
Thank you so much, Hindu. And indeed, we do see NRG walking away with the clean 2-0 set against Team Elevate. And honestly, it was pretty interesting considering the fact that in game number 1 and in game number 2, we saw NRG actually with the deficit when it came to the kill count. But I think on the side of Elevate, they just aren't necessarily fully experienced as it comes to farming and experience. And we noticed that especially in both of these games, and game number 1 in particular, because they had a really strong lead coming out due to the fact that Faeles was really camping that duo lane, really applying a lot of pressure onto emilitoo, which was causing him to fall pretty far behind. But on the opposite side of the map, Adapting was doing the exact same thing to MoGoW, which ultimately led to them being able to pick up a very comfortable gold and experience lead despite the kill count not being in their favor. And here you can see just overall pretty clean gameplay coming out of Adapting, you know, trusting that his ultimate would be enough to secure that kill onto MoGoW. And his circuit was honestly just so on point due to the fact that he just knew exactly how much he needed before that poison tick from his ultimate would just go ahead and clean up the kill. And again, we just saw him nonstop into the back line, going ahead and securing any kills. And in case Faeles was there with the cleanup, he was right there to answer back and ensure that NRG was always maintaining their spot on top of just being one step ahead the whole time for Elevate. And the way that he utilized his 2 as well to go ahead and stop a lot of attacking damage onto iRaffer there is actually really crucial, considering that you always want to go ahead and interfere whenever somebody is trying to apply pressure onto your support or anybody on your team, really. And so ultimately, just excellent gameplay coming out from him on this circuit. It was definitely a devastating force for Team Elevate to try and reconcile with, and they just didn't really seem to have much of a response once he got the ball rolling. And we saw that again coming out in game number 2, where Elevate, even though they had a lot of fight early on, picking up the first blood in both of these games, they just, again, were unable to really capitalize on their lead that they were establishing. And ultimately, it led to NRG just going ahead with their veteran experience, just picking up the gold and XP where they really needed to. And it's really important considering that anytime you find yourself falling behind when it comes to the kill score, you know, that's always a good opportunity for the enemy team to try and apply pressure onto an objective. But Elevate just seemed unable to do that, which permitted NRG to go ahead and find the openings whenever they were able to secure picks. We see Dimi with a really clean combination with iRaffer going and picking up that kill onto Faeles and adapting again. King Kenneth coming out strong on this Thor, going ahead. And it was really important that he actually chose to use his spin to win to secure that kill, because it established him being unable to get knocked back by Poseidon for anything, and also allowing for the hammer escape, which is pretty important to say the least. So ultimately, very well played by NRG. And I really think that they're pretty excited coming out with the clean 2-0 set, because those 3 points are really going to matter for the weeks to come. And speaking of the man of the hour, we actually have Adapting here right now. Adapting, how's it hanging? Actually, well, we got to go ahead and figure something out really quick. But on the bright side, we do know that Adapting's gameplay overall was pretty dominant, to say the least, when it came out on top of securing the set and everything like that. And now we actually do have Adapting here on the line. So Adapting, how's it hanging?
Hey, yeah, it's good, thanks.
Yeah, so
2-0, so happy faces.
Happy faces all around indeed. And we saw you going ahead, you know, picking the Circuit and the Thor. What was your decision making, I guess, behind those 2 picks today?
The Circuit and the Thor. Well, the Circuit for the Ra healing, being it's just a safe pick there. It's just really good against the Ra to counter the Ra, and the Thor was just good against their team comp in that situation. I could easily dive the Artemis, the Poseidon. I just wanted something where I could get to the backline easily.
Yeah, I noticed you spent a lot of time in that solo lane, and I mean, it probably wasn't necessarily to get Dimi ahead, because I'm sure that you trust him as your teammate, but I saw that you kind of just left the emilitoo hanging a little bit, and I'm assuming that that's just because you wanted to go ahead and establish that map dominance on the solo lane side?
I just don't want to be near Emil. No, yeah, it had to do with just trying to win the game on that side of the map and trying to snowball the experience lead in our favor, rather than trying to make sure Emil doesn't die.
I guess that's a pretty fair point to come through on. But, I mean, you guys played pretty well, and I think that you guys are more than happy to be coming out with the 2-0. So, are there any particular shout-outs you want to go ahead and give?
Shout-outs to all our fans, girlfriend, everyone. Thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying it.
All right, well, thank you so much, Adapting. That was pretty awesome. And excellent gameplay, like I said, from NRG. And, you know, they're more than excited coming out with that 2-0 set. And now